NATO aircraft are continuing to track Russian strategic bombers flying over the Atlantic and Black Sea, and sorties of Russian fighters over the Baltics in what the 28-nation security bloc described as an unusual burst of activity at a tense time in East-West relations following Russia's annexation of Crimea and invasion of eastern Ukraine. In the largest sortie, 4 Tupolev Tu-95 strategic bombers, Russia's equivalent of the US B-52 nuclear bomber, flew out over the Norwegian Sea, accompanied by 4 refueling tanker aircraft. NATO aircraft have stepped up patrols over the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, and Sweden and Norway, who are reportedly considering NATO membership in the light of this year's war in eastern Ukraine, also scrambled jets to see off the Russian threat. Britain's Royal Air Force also intercepted a bomber approaching British airspace on Saturday. NATO claims to have intercepted Russian aircraft more than 100 times so far this year, 3 times more than last year. The Russian army have staged another training drill in the Rostov region near the border with Ukraine. Russia's armed forces have carried out regular exercises along the Ukrainian border in recent months, since Kremlin-backed militants seized pockets of Ukraine's eastern regions of Donetsk and Luhansk and pledged to seek union with Russia. The international community has blamed Russia for orchestrating the insurgency and imposed sanctions against Moscow for its invasion and annexation of parts of Ukraine. Russia, which annexed Crimea from Ukraine in March, denies playing any role in the conflict, despite a growing body of evidence from NATO that shows direct involvement. Almost 4,000 people have been killed in eastern Ukraine since April.
More evidence of Russian military equipment has been seen in eastern Ukraine. A journalist for the UK's Telegraph newspaper posted on Twitter that he saw 62 green Kamaz military trucks without license plates, along with 3 Grad rocket launchers and 2 anti-aircraft flak guns. He also wrote that the column was headed for the Kremlin-backed insurgent stronghold of Donetsk. Journalist Christopher Miller, who writes for BuzzFeed, posted, "Today's massive column of military vehicles near Donetsk is the 3rd this week, all with Grad rocket launchers, artillery, and scores of Kamaz military trucks without license plates." Separately, this video was uploaded to YouTube on the same day, November 1st, which appears to show a column identical to the one the international journalists were describing. Also on November 1st, these photos circulated widely on social media, which appear to show Russian tanks and Grad rocket launchers on parade in the center of Luhansk, another eastern Ukrainian city overrun by Russian-backed insurgents. Ukraine's security service, the SBU, has warned that serious provocations are being prepared that can be then blamed on the Ukrainian authorities. Russia has for months denied sending military equipment and troops to Ukraine, but the Kremlin's increasingly flimsy denials are beginning to unravel as a mountain of evidence begins to tear down Russia's steadfast policy of plausible deniability.
A-list Russian actor Mikhail Poroshenkov has sparked outrage by firing on Ukrainian positions whilst visiting Kremlin-backed insurgents in East Ukraine. Poroshenkov has been widely condemned for the stunt, not least because the actor was wearing distinctive non-combatant press clothing whilst shooting at Ukrainian forces. In a video uploaded by insurgents, the Russian actor is seen shooting an automatic weapon towards Donetsk International Airport, which is held by Ukrainian forces. He then addresses the camera, telling his audience that the purpose of the trip is to demonstrate how much support there is in Russia for the anti-Ukrainian insurgency.
Нормальное впечатление, рабочее. Главное не сдаваться, нет. Вот и все.
Вспоминаешь съемки в военных фильмах?
Не сдаваться. Приехали поддержать, чтобы знали, что там много людей с вами.
OSCE officials slammed the star's behavior as a disgraceful and dangerous abuse of press insignia. The head of the Moscow Journalism Union said the actor would have blood on his hands if Russian journalists are killed as a result of Porochenkov's abuse of press neutrality. Other critics claimed that the star's actions had undone years of international efforts to protect journalists in war zones. Ukrainian Minister of Internal Affairs Arsen Avakov took his condemnation one step further, opening a criminal case against the A-list Russian actor for his participation in hostilities in East Ukraine. If convicted, he could face up to 12 years in prison.
With Ukrainians living in the occupied parts of the Donbass voting in insurgent-run elections on Sunday, major flaws in the ballot have been exposed. The illegal election, unrecognized by Ukraine and the international community, has an e-voting system which can easily be defrauded by using false data, according to reports on social media. Despite the Donbass vote taking place under the barrel of a gun, Russia has confirmed it will recognize the result, undermining the Minsk ceasefire deal agreed with Ukraine back in September. When elections for the Ukrainian parliament were being held last weekend, Russian-backed militants in the Donbass threatened to shoot citizens attempting to cross the makeshift border to vote.
Едут их валом.
Еще один град. Ты так заметь, грады как все поломанные, они все на тягаче ведут. Они не самостоятельно. Ля, бабулечка стоит, вообще руки развела. Текай быстрее!
Нихуя себе, ебать, те урод. Ебать их дохуя.
Чё я дура сразу не начала снимать с самого начала? А так только с серединочки.
Проспект Ильича, 01.11.14. Время 16:34 по донецкому времени.
ДНР московскому. Стандартная ситуация. Ну, военная техника.
Штук 60 единиц где-то мы насчитали.
Ну, больше 47 это точно. Еще один град. Слышь, деловой на аварийках выперся.
Так вон, бля, какие, бля, 47.
Ну, 47 это то, что мы с тобой четки насчитали. Но мы же не сначала начали это все дело.
Ну вот и сейчас не сначала.
Надо было, блин.
Хотел повернуть, думаю, ну его нахер. Закрыли.
перекрывают все выезды, все въезды.
Military situation in Novorossiya became tense during last 2 days. Kiev forces are massively shelling north and northwest suburbs of Donetsk and town Gorlovka. Settlements Shirokina, Sahanka and Bezimennaya are hot zones of the front line. Ukraine's military uses heavy artillery and battle tanks there. OSCE Special Monitoring Mission isn't putting down these facts because OSCE representatives don't want to visit settlements during the shelling. Deputy Speaker of the Donetsk People's Republic Denis Pushilin is warning about possible provocations in Ukraine on May 1st, Labor Day, and May 9, Victory Day, against people taking part in celebrations carrying red flags or wearing St. George ribbons, a widely known symbol of military glory. Soviet symbols have been banned in Ukraine, so it is not safe for Ukrainian people to have them during May holidays, Pushilin said, but provocations by radical activists. In a new documentary focusing on Vladimir Putin's 15 years in power, the Russian president says communications intercepted in the early 2000s show direct contacts between North Caucasus terrorists and the US Secret Services. At one point, our secret services simply detected direct contacts between militias from the North Caucasus and representatives of the United States Secret Services in Azerbaijan, Putin said in the film released by RussIA First TV channel on Sunday. Moreover, after conversation on this issue, the heads of Russia's FSB received a letter from their American counterparts which said the US has the right to support opposition forces in Russia, even if this opposition is a terrorist entity. We remember in the 1990s and early 2000s Russia was engaged in a conflict with large groups. This led to a prolonged counter-terrorism operation which only officially ended in 2009. A fresh 6.7 magnitude earthquake struck 17 kilometers south of Kodari, Nepal, on Sunday morning, triggering avalanches on Mountain Everest and raising fresh fears after Saturday's 7.9 quake claimed over 3,500 lives. Over 6,500 citizens were injured. The earthquake triggered an avalanche in the Himalayan mountains, as well as tremors in the Indian capital, New Delhi, more than 1,000 kilometers away. The New Delhi metro still. The Kathmandu airport is reportedly closed after the 6.7 earthquake struck Sunday, with airspace shut down, AirLiveNet reported. On account of this, Russia's emergency ministry has sent 2 planes with 90 rescuers and rescue equipment to Nepal to help with the earthquake's aftermath. A satanic mass in support of punitive operations in Donbas region will be performed on April 30 in Kiev. According to organizers of the event, 2,000 occultists will take part in the ritual. The Black Mass is officially supported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Walpurgis Night on April 30 is the night of witches and dark forces. It's one of the major holidays celebrated within Satanism and is the anniversary of the founding of the Church of Satan. Novorossian militia claim that Kiev troops are planning a large-scale provocation for May 8 and 9. Donetsk People's Republic spokesman Eduard Basurin expressed this point on Wednesday, citing human intelligence indicating the Ukrainian Army Command plans large-scale provocations, including shelling of populated localities with heavy artillery. According to the DPR spokesman, Ukrainian service members in conversation with the local population are strongly recommending civilians evacuate the settlements of Novoluganska and Staromikhailivka by May 7. Meanwhile, the Defense Ministry of Ukraine has become annoyed with OSCE mission failing to report all attacks on Ukrainian forces. The extreme butthurt in the headquarters of the so-called ATO was caused by a report on the official website of the OSCE's monitoring mission, stating that during the day of April 26, mission observers recorded 413 shots from weapons of various types near the village of Shirokina in the Donetsk region. Moreover, the report explains these shots were fired by the armed forces of Ukraine in the direction of territory controlled by Novorossian militia. Oh la la! Smoke from a forest fire in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is capable of spreading contamination across great distances even after the fire believed. The forest fire near the crippled Chernobyl nuclear power plant started on Tuesday and triggered predictions that the nuclear repository is in danger there. Although the sarcophagus remains untouched by the fire, decades-old contaminants and the environment surrounding the nuclear plant could be still released and trail far and wide in the smoke. In December 2014, the US Senate Intelligence Committee issued a study on the CIA's detention and interrogation program and found that the agency tortured suspected terrorists in a brutal and mismanaged program that produced little valuable intelligence. What we have here with respect to Romania vis-à-vis the United States is what President Vladimir Putin calls a vassal state, former CIA analyst Ray McGovern said on Wednesday. Former Romanian President Ion Iliescu McGovern argued approved the CIA black sites because he was beholden to the United States and further motivated by cash infusions from the US Treasury. It would be interesting to investigate Iliescu's Swiss bank account, McGovern suggested, and how the former Romanian president acquired his nice summer home on a lake.